Welcome to the CapLander podcast, where we dive into the dynamic world of private capital markets. Whether you're new to private market investing or a seasoned professional, this podcast unpacks the latest trends, insights, and opportunities shaping the industry. Featuring expert guests and deep discussions, CapLander is your go-to resource for staying informed and inspired. Hi, Jody. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Morgan. So good. Is that the necklace I bought you?
One of them. One of
Both
the
of
two.
them,
I guess yes, because this was a birthday. The
technically.
Morgan, my name tag was a birthday gift for my dirty 30
From who?
from Jody, my mother.
Yeah.
My mother bought
Okay,
it for
so
me.
not technically I bought you both. I know this is the thing. My whole week has been this, and last week
Oh,
was this,
oh
where
no.
can't tell the truth. And then somehow they have to mince words, and then they need you to take responsibility for basically something that they fucked up. And instead of just being like, "Yes, I made a mistake. You bought both of them." Not you technically bought both of them. Yes, you are right. You bought both of them. Somehow you have to smush it around so that I have to help you. And am I supposed to feel badly for that? Like I made a mistake, or what? You just can't say, "Yes, you are correct."
I'm just so glad that I was not the one over the weekend who pissed you off, that I was in the green. I was in the green all weekend, all last week, so it wasn't me.
First of all,
Shaggy.
you get a lot of hall passes because you are pregnant, and it is my first grandchild. And second of all, you and I have worked through these things where we don't need to mince words and we're able to be transparent. But for whatever reason, I'm still in teaching mode with like 95% of the rest of the people in my life.
Well, some people would say that you don't have to teach everybody else, that that you could don't have to take that one on. But this is like we talked about this before. You have very high standards and you have very high how you do everything is how you do anything. And that's your personal mantra, but it's not so easy for everybody else.
But at least if you make a mistake and it's clear you either overstepped or you made assumptions or you just straight up said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. I don't understand if it becomes very clear that A, that's the case, and B, that you've hurt my feelings in the process. And I'm clear with you that I don't feel good about it. I don't understand why it is not just a straightforward apology. I'm sorry I screwed up. I'm sorry I
Yeah.
made an assumption. I'm sorry I said I was going to do something and I didn't do it. I don't know why it's an around and around and around because number one, it's exhausting. And number two, you end up having to get to the other person taking responsibility because it's important to make sure that that comes clear so that it doesn't happen again. I mean, how do you learn if you don't resolve? I didn't come from the school of, as much as my parents wish I did, where you sweep it under the rug and then you think, oh, that's not going to be the case. Doesn't exist if we just pretend that it doesn't, because it does. It fucking does.
I'd really hate to piss you off this week. I really would. I just pray for myself that I don't do anything to get in that
You
in
can't.
that way.
You have how many more months left to go in this pregnancy, and then you better watch it.
I am 1 week shy of my 3rd trimester, so it's really speaking of grandparents, my grandmother asked me this morning, she goes, "What fits?" And I go, "Nothing." And she goes, "What are you doing about it?" And I go, "Nothing." I go, "I don't have to do anything
Yeah.
about it yet. Right now, I can just get by with what I've got." But I think, A, there's no place to shop for maternity clothes. B, you go the other
There used
route,
to
which
be a pea in the pod or some of those other places, and I do have to say those things were
no.
pretty cute and easy and fun. What happened to all those stores?
Well, now any maternity line is all online. So you have to order it, which means you have to wait for it and then you have to get it. And then you're supposed to order things based on what size you were before. But then, of
Right,
course, like
that brand Hatch, because I saw that on the Real
right.
for
So
You.
so some of the Hatch stuff is cute. But then I just can't bring myself to I'll spend $150 on a pair of jeans, like on a pair of Silver Lake jeans I love because I'm like, I'm going to wear these over and over and
Right,
over
but you
again.
feel
But
like
to
the
spend
maternity stuff is just a waste.
I feel like it's a total waste, and I hate for the life of me anybody who
Right.
makes maternity clothes. Please listen to me. Stop putting ruching on the side of tank tops. Just
Yes, like a
leave the tank
kangaroo.
top.
You are not a kangaroo. You do not
I'm
wanna
not.
just have
I'm not.
a
I'm
pouch
not a
with ruching.
kangaroo. I don't need the ruching. I'm already a thick bitch as it is. I don't need any extra oomph on it. I just want a
You
straight
are not
back.
a thick bitch. Morgan, I think someone being a size 6 is not a thick bitch, but
The most
I get it.
offensive thing that somebody can tell me, honestly, at this point of being almost 6 months pregnant, "Oh my god, you don't even look pregnant." I'm like, "But first of all, fuck off. Second of all, yes, I do. Third of all, if I don't look pregnant, then I just look fat? Like, if I didn't look
Yeah,
like this before," I'm like, "You would be
right,
better off just to tell me, 'Oh my god, you're pregnant. You look great.'" Like, that's the
right.
best case scenario.
Yeah.
Don't try to tell me I don't look
You don't look
pregnant.
pregnant. Yeah,
Right.
as though that's some kind of underhanded compliment.
No, no, absolutely not. So that's my miss is like when
Okay,
and
well,
I
we're all up to date now. We're all up to date on
execute
what's annoying us. I
it.
honestly
Correct. We're
and in addition to that, not one, but 2 of these people who have been, like, so extreme. Already got the "I'm sorry" flowers with no "I'm sorry" card, but somehow I'm supposed to, again, piece it together
You
at
didn't
my
get I'm
door.
sorry. You got tulips. You got flowers from
I got
somebody.
tulips with no "I'm sorry" card, but that sounds like a "I'm sorry."
It's a gesture.
It's a
It's an I'm
gesture.
sorry gesture. Yeah, that's probably what you're gonna get. For those of you who are listening, Joey just flipped off the camera. So that's where
I
we are
can't.
today. That's the personal update piece. So then let's move on to Jody sent me an article over the weekend on Saturday from the Wall Street Journal. And it sparked a whole conversation because it touches on a number of different guests that we've had. And the article is called These AI Whiz Kids Dropped Out of College and Got Investors to Pay Their Bills. And then the subline says venture capitalists are stepping in to cover expenses like rent while dropouts from Harvard to Stanford chase their startup dreams. And the article had a lot of talk about MIT in particular, too. But really, it was a long article. Like when it says at the top of the website how long it would take to listen to, it said 10 minutes. So there's a number of different components, but I think one of the components to focus on is that there's so much venture money going into these AI companies. And because of especially tools like Claude, who can do the coding for you in the background, companies are doing so much in such a little amount of time, or founders are doing a lot.
Yes, I would like to back this up because the
Please.
article is, in my opinion, is more about the opportunity cost and the cost for these kids to have venture money put in and take them out of school and pay their bills. Because we see, as a result of during COVID, that people going to offices, all of that got turned around. And Morgan, you raised this that it wasn't only about people not going to offices, as it was about kids not going to school
Yes.
classrooms or college campuses or any of it. And I think it has left many people at a deficit because they don't really have any idea how to handle structure and like needing to go into work and how to navigate an office or working in an open office space or how to have protocol. And you have to back that up because it starts from when you live in a college dorm and when you have a
Yeah.
roommate. And the fact that they're trying to remove all of this, I think, has grave social implications.
I completely agree with you because I think there's a lot of things that also college is the first time for a lot of people when they're living on their own. And so you're living independently, which means that you need to do your own laundry, you need to feed
Right.
yourself, you need to take care of yourself, and you also are living with people who you've never met before. And you might have a roommate who you knew before, but you're on a floor with new people. You're sharing bathrooms,
And
presumably
that's
if
the
you live in a
biggest piece.
dorm.
That's one huge piece, the social aspect of college. You know, they say there's a time and a place called that for everything, and it's called college. And in order to skip all of that, I think really leaves people, these kids, very hard pressed to have social skills and be able to navigate because that is a formal stepping stone that is done by design for you to be able to arrive into the workplace to be able to cope and handle with the next component of this. And skipping it may be great for the VCs and it may be great for AI and businesses to fast track, but where does it leave these kids? Let's even say that somebody has a liquidity. Then what?
That was what I was going to ask you. So, okay, a lot of these kids in this article are really talking about like you can't wait until after you graduate because somebody could come up with somebody could
Right.
do what you're planning on
Moving
doing
fast.
Right, it's moving so quickly. Then what happens if you miss all of this and that's your golden ticket?
Yeah. I mean, you see this, so where does the money leave you? We've seen this is the price of privilege. This is like when I was on a plane that time, and I won't get into the politics of it, but I was sitting next to a girl in business class. I was flying from Miami to Boston. And she was there young, right? Like in her high teens, low 20s in college. And she was wearing regular sneakers. She had a Chanel bag. She was working on a Mac computer and, of course, sitting in business class. And she said she had just been on vacation with her parents. She was from the Bay Area and she was going back up to school at Harvard. And we did get into a conversation around politics. And I asked her how much was her tuition, like if she had to pay for tuition or how much was tuition. And her honest answer was, I don't know. And I said to her,
Right.
that's the problem. You don't know how much your tuition is. As you sit here in business class with a Chanel handbag and a Mac computer, you have no idea how much all this costs. And you have no idea what it will take if you had to earn this. So before
Yeah,
you make political sweeps and gestures around who should be paying for what, I think it would be a good idea for you to understand what it would take for you to pay for all of your life this way.
yeah. I mean, this has come up at I can't tell you how many dinners and different events and things. I am 31 years old. So I mean, I consider myself like, when I was in college, we had social media, but it was nothing like what it was
But
today.
also,
Like
Morgan, when you
there's
went to college, we knew how much your tuition was. We knew
totally.
how much your room and board was. We talked about it. We discussed what was available. We discussed monthly spending. You had jobs in between. It was a very realistic dynamic. You knew that you were going to come out of college with no debt. You knew that your great grandparents were helping, that I was helping, your father was helping. It was a combined effort, and we all lived within a reasonable budget because you knew that the task of coming out of college is that you were going to be employable, whether it was with DLander or someplace else, and you had a good head on your shoulders around all this.
My freshman year roommate was from Wisconsin, and she was an engineer.
Morgan and Morgan, you were like a law firm.
Right. And she calculated what the monthly like, what you paid in a month for tuition each semester and what that priced out per class. And this was before school even started. She's like, "Every time you skip a class, this is how much money you're essentially throwing
Right.
down the drain."
Very
Right.
realistic. That's the beauty of, like,
Totally.
going to school in the Midwest.
Right, and you're like, I kid you not, I could probably count the amount of classes I miss on one hand because I was like, "I'm
Not
here
my
to go
fault.
to school. I'm here
Right.
to go to school. I'm here, yes, to have a good time," and Wisconsin was the epitome of work hard, play harder, but you went to
Yep.
class. That was a part of the deal. You would not succeed otherwise, and I think a lot of the things that are taught the reason why I bring up the social media piece of this is because there was one piece in this article where they talked about the competition for talent and how the age of companies and the age of these AI unicorns, for example, the age used to be 40 and now it's 29, right? In terms of the average age
I
of
mean, at the age of
founders.
the person work got it. Of the founders, the average age is 29.
Correct. The number from the article is the average age of founders of so-called AI unicorns companies worth more than 1 billion has fallen from 40 in 2020 to 29 in 2024, and this was from the investment firm Antler. And the reason why I say this is because the social media piece is important because it's given essentially everybody their own platform. And you see somebody who's been successful. You have shows like Shark Tank now, where you look at founders who pitch their ideas that have really, for all intents and purposes, have been hobbies or something they did on the side and they bootstrapped and
Right.
they saw it was successful and they're selling on Etsy or they have people who are buying at a farmer's market. They have proof that it's successful, but you can only get so far at a certain point.
Well,
But
this is
you
the same
have
thing. You mentioned this from the Netflix show about Ryan Serhant and his
that.
agency, that he had the same call to conscience where, it wasn't a fast track because he certainly has put his time in. But at a certain point, he knew that the
Right.
grind would be,
And this is the part two, right? Is really when you're a founder of a company, which I think at this point anybody knows what a founder is. And there comes a point, an inflection point where you have been successful, you have clients or you have a successful business, but that line between where you've been successful and then getting to the next stage is a lot of things where that's again the Shark Tank, that's the Ryan Serhant coming in, and that's really the question of do you raise outside capital? And that's all the way back around to this Wall Street Journal article because you have these investors who are buying buildings and paying for food and private chefs
Yeah, they're
and the cost.
dangling that carrot to say to these younger kids, listen, we could take you out of that grind and elevate you. I wonder what the percentages are of how many don't make it versus make it because there are not a lot of unicorns.
All it takes is one. I mean,
Yeah,
that's really
that
that's
keeps everybody on track. I mean,
right,
listen, I can understand all this because I myself, as you well know, am a founder, and the only financing I had was the bank of mom and dad, and we're still privately held, which to
right.
me was always worth the trade-offs because we were more so of a slow and steady wins the day. But there are industries where that is not the case because time is more of the essence, and the technology is so new and so fast that if you don't get there first, then you're not gonna get there at all.
Right, if you're not first, you're last. I mean, it's
Right.
black and white. And I think that's piece of it where you it's a founder mentality, and we've talked to on this podcast, I've had investors, founders, CEOs, CEOs with exit, CEOs who have been in their first companies, and a lot of it really is that entrepreneurial mindset where you have to stay open, you have to be willing to pivot, but then you do also have the relationship that comes with the investors where what's the trade-off? Because when you take money, you're giving
Right.
away equity.
Okay, so
Of
the other sort of I think that it's important to be very involved in what's going on in current media, and I read an article today, actually, again in the Wall Street Journal about drivers celebrating the demise of the most hated feature in their car, and that is when you get to a stop sign that the car stalls a little bit because they're
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to save right, to save energy. So, the stop start whole thing is they found a new champion, and this has basically been President Trump, who has said the official White House account on X celebrated a meme video of a Prius style car standing still at a stoplight. Its two engines shut off and two sweaty occupants baking inside.
Right, 'cause
Meanwhile, a
the air
petite blonde
conditioning goes
woman's
off.
what?
The air conditioning goes off when
Right, so
the
the air conditions, and then it shows a picture of a petite blonde woman speeds off in a red sports car, like, with her AC on, so I think some of these things, it all sort of goes back to, even especially if an entrepreneur and an innovator's mindset, people do not wanna be told what to do. I do not wanna be I am in charge, I have my own agency. I am independent, and I want to make my own decisions, as evidenced by all the shit that I've gone through this week when other people are trying to impose what they want me to do, right? And
I
I
think
feel like I'm the woman who speeds off in the red sports car saying, "Great, if you want to stall at the stop sign, you have at it. I do not want to."
I think you were this way the whole time because your father, my grandfather, talks about how when you were in a Target or something in Buffalo when you were a kid and he tried to tell you
I
no to
highly
you
doubt it
getting
was a
something
Target.
or somewhere, you were in, one of those big stores, and essentially he said the no to you having something, and he said that you were full on the ground losing your mind. Like, "Nope,
Yeah.
mm-mm, I don't like that word. I don't like the word no. I don't want that to be the situation or the case in point." But,
Yeah,
you
I have a
know,
picture of I remember when my dad disciplined me, and he generally is a very calm person, except over the years, I remember him gritting his teeth at me because he was so frustrated, and he put me in my room, and he told me, "Do not," he tried to close the door, but I was like, "Do not close that door." So the door is open, and he was very specific with me, "You are not to leave," and he showed me where the line was, where the carpet changed from my room to the hall, and he said, "Do not cross this line." And there is a picture of me passed out with my thumb in my mouth, sucking my thumb and the blanket, and I am, like, at the line. Every part of me is at the line.
well,
It really makes
honestly,
me laugh because by the way, you are very much like your grandmother, so guess who your daughter's gonna be like?
is it skip a generation? Is that what it's like? Is that what happened? No,
I
but this
think
is
you are in for it.
Papa might have had you sleep on that line, but nobody was more ruthless with locking anybody in their room than you. Because I have one memory and one memory only of when
I
you
remember this.
this
I
was
took you to Pete's Coffee. I parked the
no,
car
no,
okay, first of all, you grew up in Mill Valley.
took him
Very
to like
safe.
Mom goes into Pete's Coffee, Blake and I are in the car.
In
Doors
Mill
are
Valley.
in Mill
In
Valley,
Mill Valley, California. Small
doors
town
are
America.
doors are locked. Doors are locked, windows are up, and she says, "Do not move from the car. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get my
But the
coffee." And
sunroof is open. The windows
sunroof
are
is
up.
open. Whoa, you definitely said sunroof is open, windows are she did not realize the sunroof was open, and goes in, and you can see,
I
like,
wouldn't
Pete's
have locked
Coffee.
you in a car with the windows up and no
No, but
air, Morgan.
all
I knew
it
the
was
sunroof was open.
regardless, Pete's Coffee had all windows on the front, so we're sitting in the car, and I did not like to be left alone in that situation. I was like, "This sucks. Why couldn't I have come in?" Whatever. So I get myself out of the sunroof, and I'm like, "Mom!
Yelling,
Mom!" Oh,
yelling,
yeah, and like that meme when
screaming, actually,
when the
not
mom
yelling,
comes out.
screaming.
Yeah, so she comes out.
Like someone's torturing you, like
Mhm.
you are in physical pain.
Every
Because
single
I told
person
you,
knows
"Don't get
that
out of
look.
that car." Yeah.
I did not get out of the car. I just took my head out
It's
of the
all
car.
coming back to you. So, yes, what
Correct.
did I do when we got home?
When we got home, Jody locked me in my room from the outside in,
Well, because
which
let's
meant
face it, there was no lock on the outside, so I put you in your
correct.
room, and I put a chair
You
up
tell him.
against the door handle.
Fucking rude. All I can tell you is that I was down on the ground, Jody style, all fours,
I saw
and
little
I had
finger
my
coming
face
out under the
down
door.
looking, and I could see the door was closed. I could see she was walking away to get something. I saw her coming back, and I was like, "Oh no, oh
Yeah,
no, I am so
listen,
fucked. I am
yeah,
royally, royally fucked." And that chair stayed there. I think I honestly screamed myself out until I passed out, like you did, and then
well,
eventually, when I woke up, the door was back open.
let's wind up with this. I think it's a good place to wind up, and that is that you gotta have actions and consequences. We say this. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And also, it is important to set a boundary. And it is very good to be creative as a parent, just like it is to be as an innovator or an entrepreneur or a
Founder.
founder. Right. You gotta be creative and think out of the box. And there are times where that works for you, and then there are times where it wreaks havoc. But I will say, as I've gotten older, that I try. The problem for me is this: you are welcome that at least I punished you and I gave you consequences, because at least you were given a boundary and you knew I cared. Because if I don't give a shit, I am happy to be dismissive. I'm happy not to even answer you at all. I'm happy just to stand down and go away. And the worst thing is quiet, Jody.
It's also opportunity costs, which really goes all the way back around because the reality is there's always that risk reward. And this is whether, personally, I mean, we talked about this over the weekend about going into an office for work. When I was in San Francisco, I went to a WeWork building because I always thought of it as a trade-off that I had a lot of opportunity for a family business, but I liked the culture of going into a place to work. And that was not a reality of working for JP Landers. So I was like, I want to go to a place where there's a communal kitchen. I can talk to people getting coffee. I'm downtown San Francisco, which means I have to go out and get lunch and I can go to the gym or whatever it is. And you supplement it in other ways. But I think a lot of this too is that when you make a decision, it's like you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. That whether you're a founder or an innovator of any way, shape, or form, or a parent, when you make a decision, it's inevitable that one door closes and another door opens, or you go in one
You have to
direction.
be willing to stand your ground, and you have to be also conscious. You need to make a plan. It's just, and this
Yeah,
is, I also think, very relevant what you're thinking about with these kids that, may raise capital if, instead of going to college. I think they also really need to think about, obviously everyone plays to win. So if they are in this and like you said, there's only, you either win or you're out. And if you don't do that, what is your plan then? Like, are you going to go
backup
back to
plan.
school? Do you take a leave
Right,
of absence? Like, you got to think it through and be strategic.
right.
The last area that I think is sort of fun to touch on, because we're getting ready for the spring and the summer, is all the new fashion. I want to know what you
Yes.
think people should be wearing. I wore my, little Burberry Sitch here
I think the
today.
Burberry stuff is so hot. Honestly, I mean, I'm of two minds because obviously everybody's talking about the new Chanel, and I
Well,
like the
not everybody,
slouchiness.
but it is new
The new
designers from old houses. Dior, Chanel, and Loewe I've read about all have
everyone's
new
moved.
designers. Yeah.
Correct. And the new
Oh, and
designer Chanel.
Valentino, the guy from Gucci went to Alessandro, he went to Valentino.
Right, so Valentino looks a lot like what Gucci looked like a couple of years ago, but it's the Valentino style instead of Gucci. It's the whole different prints, but the beading and everything is really pretty. And then the Matthew, who's at Chanel, came from Bottega. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of kind of. It's really interesting. I think the slouchy bags are really pretty. A lot of the layers and like the silhouettes. I think the most fun thing about spring dressing are all the layers and being able to throw a sweater around your shoulders and do a tank top with an open shirt and then I mean, I like the slouchy pant look, that's kinda my thing. You got a great pair of khaki kinda trousers from Buck Mason, and those are, like I think those are so
Yeah, for like a
smart.
not even maybe $200 or something or 100 and something, which very reasonable. So, yeah, you
Right.
gotta pick the look that works for you, and also not only are the bags slouchy and the pants are slouchy, but the shoes are sorta slouchy.
Yes. A lot of the flats, like, multiple colors, the pony hair shoes. J. Crew I was in over the weekend. I mean, you must have thought they were giving things away, but everything, even on the men's side, really nautical, all the Sperry's are kind of coming back. The preppy looks are really good, all the rugby shirts, I've seen this
Ralph
the got some
Lauren.
yeah, all I mean, the Western wear. If I had money sitting around, I would buy those Ralph Lauren big belts with, like, the big circle buckle that are kind
I
of
bought one, you
Western.
told me to do I went to the store in Coconut Grove, the showroom, and I bought the great belt, which is
Right,
the
with
Great and
Stetson.
Stetson did a collaboration. Yeah, I like all those
Right.
collaborations.
All the Western stuff. I mean, in Missouri, it's so fun because you can actually really wear that stuff, like, you can go into the grocery store wearing your pair of Lucchese's, and that's really fun. But I like to mix a bunch of the different I mean, right now, honestly, I'm it's a good thing that I can't shop because I'd be shopping a lot, but
Jewelry.
I haven't
That's it.
seriously. I'm
It's
on the
back
hunt
to the
for a
jewelry.
well,
Your
actually,
husband's in line for the
I'm on
push
the
present.
hunt I'm on the hunt for a push present, and I find it disappointing because there's not a lot of inspiration. There's
Oh.
a lot of things that like people get kind of as basics because it's an opportunity to build
Yeah,
your
classic
jewelry
stuff. I think
wardrobe.
that's a better way to do it. You'll wear that stuff, Morgan. You find you'll wear the basics and classics, even though it might be a little underwhelming to buy it. You'll find that you'll get a lot of usage out of it day to day, and those special pieces are special. But when you just go to put it on to, go to the gym or you're going to the grocery store or you're going, out for dinner, you'll find that the things that are more run of the mill that are pretty are always like I say to you, pretty is pretty.
All right, well, here's my last question,
Stupid
especially
is
because
stupid.
I can see that you're wearing 2 diamond necklaces. What are your thoughts on lab versus natural, especially if it comes down to having something that's bigger versus smaller?
Lab. I would do labs 1,000%, especially somebody at your age. You have plenty of time if you wanna get the real, and I'm not even sure it's worth it.
Yeah. I lean lab because I'm like, why not? I like size. I like size and the higher quality diamonds. So I'm like, why would not get something the best bang for your buck? And that's where the lab comes in. I think if you want some special stones, like the emeralds or the sapphires or green or blue sapphires, whatever, then those are the stones that are really worth buying natural because those are really things that are special. But I just don't know that the diamonds are as special now as they used to be. They're just it's a diamond's a diamond, it's always special, but I'm like, it's not like it's fake. It's not,
Yep.
dust.
Like a fake friend. Alright, are we done here?
We're done.